This one comes from a viewer like you guys. This one was brought to my attention. This is from the South China Morning Post. Credit to Lawrence Chung for writing this. Taiwan Navy commissions a stealth missile corvette to aid in asymmetrical warfare. This is a really badass ship. I'm highly impressed with this. Taiwan is building warships, unlike the United States. They're building ships that have weapons on them because they know that they're in an imminent threat. A fait accompli war is coming between Taiwan and China. That's happening. There's nothing changing that. But the question is America going to get involved or anybody else going to get involved? And we seem so wishy-washy. We haven't really been paying attention to the ships we're building. And I'm looking at you, LCS. Taiwan knows that it's going to need to shoot Chinese ships, and they're building ships to do it. This is a great one. They call it the carrier killer. The Ta Zhang is commissioned alongside high-speed mine layers, so they built another ship at the same time by producing, both produced by Liu Tay Shipbuilding Company. I don't speak anything Chinese or Taiwanese, so I'm not sure if my pronunciations there are correct. Anyway, so this is the Taiwan has a naval budget of about $1.5 billion, amateurs, for the next fiscal year, including upgraded 6 frigates. They're going to upgrade 6 frigates. Yeah, they don't know how much time they have, so they're like just trying to pump out as many ships as they can. Taiwan Navy has commissioned its first stealth missile corvette to boost its deterrence capability and defend the island from the growing military threats from Beijing. The multi-mission corvette PGG 619, dubbed a carrier killer, was commissioned on Thursday. So that's that was yesterday. Shit. What's the date on this piece? Yeah, yesterday. It was literally a brand new ship. See, the president of Taiwan is there. What's her name? Her name is Tsai Ling. I hope I'm saying her name right. Anyway, both vessels were produced by the shipbuilding company as part of the government plan to boost the island's capability to build up and deploy its own weapons. Yeah, it wants to be independent. It doesn't want to be buying weapon systems from other countries. It knows that whenever it goes to war, it may be by itself. And so they're building their own systems that are indigenous. The first launched in December last year, so this is the second of 2, it looks like. The Corvette has a maximum speed of 45 knots, a displacement of 700 tons. That's really small. Fast and small, which is what they want. If they want to get in, do a quick missile strike and get back out again, I kind of appreciate that. Has a range of about 1,800 nautical miles before it needs refueling. It has an upgraded version of the prototype Sao Shang and is designed to play a key role. That must be the first one that they built there, yeah. It plays a key role in asymmetrical warfare strategy. Very cool. Let's take a look at what I did here is I brought up the wiki page just to give you guys a better idea of what it looks like. This is a model of it, obviously. But here you can see, it's got a CWIS on the back. It's got a 76 millimeter gun on the front. A beautiful little cup holder here, a little sippy cup. And then these are the missile launchers here. These are the anti-ship missile launchers. So it looks like it holds 16 total missiles. Anti-ship missiles. Yeah, this is a model from 2017. There is another one down here. Let's see if we can give you a better look here. Again, another model just at a different angle. It is a catamaran design, but take a look at this bow. This is crazy. Look at this thing. It's got like a scoop here or something. I don't know, or it looks like a scoop. There's water goes underneath of it right here. I wonder how this thing operates in high seas with such a large catamaran design. Catamarans are very stable, but I imagine if you get it in a high sea state, this design could work against you. I don't know. Maybe somebody in the chat knows. Yeah. And they put the American flag upside down. I think that's a mistake. It's supposed to be red, white, and blue. But anyway. But yeah, look, this thing is like 45 knots. Oh, and I wonder how easy it is to turn. Like if you have a catamaran design, catamarans are a little bit like party boats for civilian use. They don't turn very well. So I wonder how maneuverable this thing is. It's clearly very fast though. Yeah. The Corvette made by Taiwan. Let's see if there's any additional information here that we haven't gone over yet. Nothing really. It began testing in 2021. Okay. The ship has a wave piercing catamaran design. Yeah. We've seen that. And they've built 2. And it looks like they're going to also upgrade 6 other destroyers or 6 other frigates, 6 other ships the next year. Yeah, no sonar dome. Whenever you're going that fast, sonar is useless. This is like they said, a carrier killer that's supposed to go out and just sink ships, not just carriers, but go out throw these missiles at ships, come back, reload, do it again. 45 knots, back and forth. The cut in the middle should be able to break the waves in a high sea state. Okay. I mean, I'm sure they wouldn't have designed it to not do that. It just looks strange. I've been on a catamaran before, but never not a high speed one. So I'm just wondering how that would work. It is a sharp looking ship. And here's part of the crew. You got the enlisted back there, senior enlisted, and these are the officers in the front rank. Very cool. All right, let's go on to the next one. So we're going to talk about North Korea for a little bit here. Members of Congress urged the Biden administration to proceed with caution on North Korean sanctions. This piece written by John Grady, USNI News. That is the North Korean ballistic missile that is being launched from its Romeo modified diesel boat that's been modified to launch these ballistic missiles. We believe they can hold either 2 or 3. It's still not confirmed how many of these that they have, but it's one submarine with 2 or 3 vertical missile tubes that can shoot this. And this missile has pretty long range too. It's a pretty capable missile. 2 members of the House Foreign Affairs Committee this week urged the Biden administration to proceed with caution and potentially easing sanctions against North Korea as a way to reopen denuclearization negotiation, particularly as South Korea gears up for its presidential elections. Having recently returned from a trip to South Korea, where they met with parliamentary peers, President Moon, Representative Young Kim, Republican California, said the new talks should begin with Washington pushing to verify irreversible denuclearization on the peninsula, which is what we've been trying to do for years in North Korea, and it's just completely stalled. We haven't made any progress in this in a long time. So Kim and her colleague, Amy Barra from California, expressed concern over a new round of negotiations beginning as the United Nations agency charged with monitoring nuclear activity earlier this month called the North Koreans' reopening of a reactor deeply troubling and in violation of UN Security Council resolutions. Barra said that Moon is the president of South Korea, was elected in 2017 in a campaign pledge to improve relations with Pyongyang, could be moving for a resumption of dialogue with North Korea as a legacy item. Despite Pyongyang's closing its borders since beginning the COVID-19 pandemic, ignoring Biden's administration's offers to meet again. Yeah, we've offered them some vaccines and they turned them down. I believe they turned them down from China as well. It was like COVID diplomacy. They're like, hey, come chat with us. We'll give you millions of doses of vaccines. And for some reason, they turned that down, which is crazy. I don't know why they would do that. I mean, if nothing else, take the vaccines, right? You know, they didn't. The South Korean constitution, North Korea behaves in a way that is self-limiting, which doesn't make any sense to me. They should act in their own self-interest, and they often don't. I don't understand why. The South Korean, though, constitution limits the president to a single term. That's really cool. So no South Korean president can run for re-election. There's no such thing. And the new elections are going to be in March. So 2017 to 2021, 2022, I guess it's like a 5-year position for them. That's different. Both members of Congress mentioned that the new Korean administration might have a very different approach to Pyongyang. Yeah, that's pure speculation. Nobody knows what the new administration is going to be. He says, whenever it comes to North Korea, it's really hard to predict what to do. Kim, who was born an icon, that's not Kim Jong-il. That's Kim, one of the people here. Yeah, Representative Kim. They should make that clear. Representative Kim, who was born an icon, said during Washington's Center for Strategic International Studies forum. Those are really good forums if you want to know more about this. This CSIS, they're like a think tank that do a lot of strategic simulations and talk about big diplomatic, big story things around the world, including North Korea's nuclear program. Anyway, let's not read this word for word. Yeah, they rejected China's offers for 3 million doses. They also rejected ours because they just don't want to talk to us right now. At the end of the piece here, it says, it's not a question of whether U.S. or China. This is also a battle of ideas that includes trade, freedom of navigation through international waters, and democracy. But I don't think Korea wants to formally enter a quid plus one arrangement to counter the Beijing and into the Indo-Pacific. So it's really strange how recently Korea has really stepped away from China. They used to be really tight. And that seems to not be the case, especially since the new Korean leader, Kim Jong-un, I think that's his name, has come to power. Anyway, what do you guys think about this? What should the United States do to help bring North Korea back to the negotiation table to denuclearize the peninsula? Remember, South Korea is not nuclear at all, right? So it's just North Korea that has nuclear weapons, nuclear power plants, and them restarting that nuclear reactor, they could potentially create more weapons-grade fuel. Derp to the face. Thank you for resubbing for 3 months. Let's see if you guys have anything to add here. Kim is such a weird dude. I agree. Yeah, I don't understand that culture. I don't understand the decisions that they make. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know the answer because I don't. It's just very odd for me. Yeah. It says, I think China would finally realize Kims are crazy. Yeah, it is possible that there is something like that going on. Like maybe he's not 100%, right? Oh, no. All right. Let's move on to the next. Chat's out of control now. Okay. I should have never brought that story up. USNI News says Philippines Secretary of Defense Mutual Defense Treaty Review must assess U.S. commitments to the Philippines. So for those of you that don't know, after World War II, we created a defensive pact, I think it was, I don't know the exact wording, with the Philippines saying, hey, basically, if Japan or anybody else comes back and invades you and kicks your butt like they did in World War II, we're going to come and help you out. We're going to defend the Philippines. The Americans were committed to that. Now, unfortunately, that was written like 70 years ago, right? So it doesn't have all the new caveats and technologies and threats, asymmetrical warfare being one of them, that are a reality today in the South China Sea and around the Philippines, the Philippine Island chain. So really what they're doing here is they're like saying, they're taking a look at the 70-year-old agreement we have and saying, hey, it doesn't include the economic zone, which is outside the airspace, you know. So China's been going into their economic zone, doing fishing activities, which technically are not legal, but they do them anyway, but they don't violate their national waters. You know, they don't go inside that 12-mile limit. So they're in this gray area conducting operations that do not trigger a response from the United States because it was written in 1946. So they're going to update that, it seems. That's going to begin by this review and then see what kind of changes needs to be done. Now that I've said my part, let's read from the piece from the experts like John Grady, who know more about this than I do. Here pictured, we have Marine Lance Corporal David Lancheros shares his knowledge about the engagement process using a Stinger missile with a Philippine airman, second class Sherwin Feoranga, during a subject matter expert exchange. Yeah, SMEs. Whenever I do contract work for anybody, that's my position. I'm an SME. But this guy, he's still active duty, it looks like. Anyway, so from the piece, John Grady writes, topping the list in any review of the 70-year-old mutual defense treaty between Manila and Washington is the need for a precise definition of what the United States is committing to, is to the Republican crisis, Philippines Secretary of Defense said today. Okay. Delphin Lorenza, in an online, again, Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS, check them out, guys. They're a really good think tank. Said the lack of precise definition and the ups and downs of the relationship between the two nations over the past 70 years are among the reasons for the review. Among the reasons were rising China in the 21st century, claimed Mischief Reef and Scarborough Shoals as its own territory in 2012. I didn't realize that this goes back that far. So they had been outright claiming territories almost 10 years ago now. China has. But see, the agreement we have, this mutual defense pact, doesn't cover this. You know, so they're going to have to update it and renew it. He added the shoal is within the country's exclusive economic zone, but to back up its claims, China has been consistently harassing Philippine fishermen working in the waters less than 200 miles from Luzon. Washington has become increasingly supportive of the Philippines in its territorial dispute with China. Starting in the Trump administration, Lorenzana said, by and large, the Biden administration has followed in its footsteps. Okay, looks like, there's Delphin there, Secretary of National Defense for the Philippines. Even though the Philippine President Duterte, I don't know how to say his name, on ending the visit and the forces agreement between the two nations, there remains a high degree of uncertainty as to how committed the U.S. is to defending the Philippines. That's true. See, as they pointed out earlier in the piece, our relationship, especially our military relationship with the Philippines, has degraded significantly since the end of World War II, where they finally in the 1990s asked us to leave, and we did. We just completely abandoned the military base there. Now, since then, relations have improved, and we've been back for visits, but we're still not as tight as we used to be. And then to complicate that, we have an aggressive China entering their economic zone areas, their waters, kicking their own fishermen out of their own waters, essentially, and claiming these islands as being Chinese. The Philippines got hand-me-down equipment still in its inventory from World War II and Vietnam, as China has modernized its armed forces, armed fishing vessels, and increasingly turned to gray zone tactics to split Manila and Washington, he said. Asking about increased cooperation between the two nations, Coast Guards, he said, would not have the ships to operate seamlessly with other friendly nations, although it is participating in Western Pacific naval exercises. We've seen lately a lot of Philippine Coast Guard vessels sailing with the United States Coast Guard vessels in the South China Sea, trying to enforce their own economic zone. We've talked about that in the past. All right, from the end of the piece, it remains in Manila's interest to maintain a strong security relationship with Washington as a hedge against the Chinese, and it is in Washington's interest to likewise value Manila as an important to its power projection in the Philippines and Indo-Pacific, the defense secretary says. I agree with all that. I'm glad to see that we're trying to improve our relations with the Philippines. It couldn't come at a more important time, and it's helping both countries. One, Philippines are going to try and enforce their own economic zone so the fishermen can do their job, feed people in the Philippines, and the United States wants to project power, pushing back against Chinese expansion. We share the same goal. We might as well work together. And cleaning up this treaty, maybe updating it. Maybe it doesn't need to be a mutual defense treaty, because there's not a whole lot of mutual. It's a very much a one-way defense treaty, in my opinion. But maybe we should update our agreement with the Philippines to reflect the reality of 2021. All right, what do you guys think of this? Armed fishing vessels, is that illegal? China, what was it Pompey said? Do not speak law to men with swords. Yeah, it's illegal, but whenever you're at sea, they got the gun and you don't. And the guy with the gun makes the rules. Yeah. China doesn't care about legality. Yeah. Not at all. Yeah. Invade China. I don't think we need to go that far. We just want to stop them from claiming other people's territory. That's not a big ask. I think China should just calm down. First of all, China's a huge country. They don't need more. Right. But China does what China does, man. Isn't the LCS an armed fishing vessel? If you put a fishing rod on an LCS, yes. Otherwise, it's just a missile decoy. Anyway, Kep says, is it mutual that they'd be obligated if Okinawa was hit, for example? You see, I don't know. I'm pretty sure this mutual defense treaty is just an agreement between the United States and the Philippines, and it's very narrowly focused in that, hey, if you got reinvaded, we'd come help you. But the Philippines really isn't under any threat of invasion, even from China. They're just claiming land, islands, Mischief Reef off the coast of the Philippines as being Chinese now. That's not really an invasion, and it's not triggering the treaty. Let's see. Riven says they're running out of food to feed the ridiculous number of population. Is that true? I don't know that to be true. I know there is a lot of people in China, though, so that certainly could be true. Yeah. All right. Well, I don't want chat to degrade any more than it already has. So thank you for those of you that have behaved in chat. I do appreciate it. We're going to take a break again here, and we're going to come back with a brand new Cold Waters campaign. All right. I'll see you guys in a few minutes.